My wonderful wife is a copywriter, so she writes the lines that you see on billboards for TV and movies, and she writes the "in a world where," type of copy. And before the guy who says "in a world" says "in a world," they need a guy to temporarily say "in a world." And I started doing that, temping for stuff at her agency, and a couple of those things actually booked. So that's where I started doing voices, was in TV promotion. So I did stuff for the Sci-Fi Network for a while. I still do their Twilight Zone marathons. So that's really fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm in the sci-fi world. And then I did 2 years of introing for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
For any WrestleMania fans.
Like I said, you're in the right place.
I know, yeah, it's on my list. Say that I did a wrestling thing, yeah.
Just make sure you get in a whoop somewhere in here and you'll be totally covered.
Yeah, so the 2 years, because of COVID, that they did the WrestleMania down in Tampa and had a pirate theme, they had a Jack Sparrow narrator, and that was what I did. So that was all voice matching, a lot of ADR, and so when the voice matching job came up for Rick, I decided to throw my hat in the ring. It's much, and Harry will say this too, it's much more than a voice matching job. These are full scripts. These are characters that have been living for 10 years on the screen that we all love and came to as fans first. But I think, just to sum up, we're both grateful for how our meandering path to this.
Yeah, and I definitely have questions, as I'm sure everyone in here does, about the specifics getting into the Rick and Morty thing. But before we get into that, just in terms of voice acting, you hear a lot of comedians talk about the sort of work that goes into doing a great impression, right? And now it's like you look for a hook and sort of your entry point in, and then you start to build it out from there. Tell us about the differences between creating a voice from sort of whole cloth, right, where it's like a new character on the page and it's Steve, versus doing something like you were saying, where it's like, oh, I'm doing Captain Jack Sparrow. What's your process there, and how do the two things differ? Doing something from scratch versus something that's been done, just putting your own stamp on it.
Yeah, there's. I think there can be a line, or if it's a known voice, there's a line or something that can kind of get you into it. There's a trigger word or phrase that can kind of get you into that space where you're producing that sound. But I think with any character, whether it's an original character that you're trying to find the voice for, or a character that you're stepping into the shoes for, it's acting. It all comes back to what we learned as part of the craft, which is you want to get inside the character's mindset and what do they want, what's important to them. It might seem silly just because we're talking about animation and cartoons. You think, well, how deep does it really go? Our show obviously goes deep and can really hit hard. The writing's really smart. But I think with any character, you're just trying to see where it plugs into you, and then the voice will come out naturally. If you're developing a role, kiss the ground that anything works. If you're trying out voices and you're just making silly sounds, one of them might stick. If it works, great, go with that. But I think we both take a pretty internal approach, just even to the roles that existed before we were playing them. Is that you have to treat them like human beings and say, all right, where does this live in me? No matter how absurd the storyline might be, it's grounded in what the human being is saying. So, and I think that's why a show like Rick and Morty can, go on for 100 years forever, and also touch so many people and have those moments that really stand out.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
It did. Yeah. For you, would you say it's similar also, that you're looking for starting with a line maybe, or
Ian nailed it. It's I'm newer to this whole sort of voice work and voice matching and stuff. So it was great to listen to that answer, because I'm still trying to find. I struggle with kind of creating sort of character voices and stuff, and I've been doing a lot more auditioning for things, and so I feel like I'm kind of getting my feet wet with it, and having a lot more fun with it. But it's exactly like Ian said. At the end of the day, it's a story, and stories are always going to be about people. Whether they're humans or not or whatever, but they're people. And we are people. So it's just about getting into those human experiences, and then sort of just finding where those voices lie. But yes, I mean, it is like, for Rick and Morty, Like I know Ian and I, we both have like key phrases that we hook into. Like for me, it's usually like I'll be like, okay, I get it, and like that. For some reason, like when I was auditioning when we were like first starting season 7, like that was the phrase that they like. I said that, and they were like, "That's it, right there. Like, hold that. Like he's like, say that, and like stay in that pocket, And I was like, okay, all right, and it really does. It helps. So for a lot of lines, if I drop out of the voice or whatever, they're like, okay, like here's your references. Say the line again, okay, then go right into the line. It's cool how that works.
Yeah, it's really good. What's your line to get into for Rick and Morty?
Touch my shit and die. That's not a threat from me. That's how advanced my shit is.
So you both talked about just coming into voice acting as just actors in general, right? You're like, I'm an actor, I'm going out auditioning for whatever it is, live action animation. And you also hear a lot, or maybe this has sort of gone away, but there used to be kind of this almost barrier or separation between voice actors and live action actors. Like a lot of voice actors that I've talked to over the years would complain about like, oh, when they give, Brad Pitt or somebody who's doing a voice that's taking a job away from people that just do voice acting as their thing. And does it seem like now it's maybe there's less division between the two camps and you're able to kind of overlap more?
I think there's that same sort of I don't know, that sort of reaction to celebrity in general and versus the journeyman actors. Because there's thousands of actors in the Actors Union, and about 95 of them at any given point are unemployed, and that's or in between jobs, and that's just the nature of our business. There's a lot of unsung work that is being done all the time. And even just in the voice world, just if you just close your eyes and have a TV going, everything's voiceover. We live in a world of voice, so it's everywhere, and those are all jobs that should remain with people and not AI. I'll just throw that in there. I could go on a tangent. I won't, but don't get me going. But
Don't get him started.
Do not get me started on tech. But yeah, I think there's always been that sort of sentiment. Everybody's trying to work, right? And I definitely thought for many years, I bought into that division as well between VO and on-camera stuff. And it was not so much that you can't do this, it was just, oh, that's a whole other world. There's so many people in the industry, agents, casting directors, producers who will say, oh yeah, no, there's if you're thinking about voiceover, there's 4 people who do that, and they're already doing it.
Right.
It was like the barrier was always imaginary because there's a ton of voice work out there. So whenever I'm asked, and I'm asked a lot at conventions, meeting people on the road, how can I get involved in voiceover? Where do I get started? Just do it. Don't believe that there's that barrier that you can't do it, even if you're not on the other side of that acting barrier. It's like making music. You're never gonna pass the audition, wondering and worrying too much about what the other side wants. They mostly don't know what they want, and they'll know when they hear it, and hopefully that's you, and everybody in this room and in this world has their own unique voice. And so there's room for you and all of us, I think, as long as powers that be keep hiring actors, human actors, to do those things. And as long as there's a need and a demand from people